Donald O'Connor was born with the name Donald David Dixon Ronald O'Connor on August 28, 1925, in the big city of Chicago, Illinois. From the moment he was born, O'Connor was surrounded by show business and entertainment. His mom and dad were vaudeville performers, which means they traveled around doing singing, dancing, and comedy shows on stage. From the time he was really little, Donald got to see the exciting and sometimes tough world of live entertainment up close and personal. When Donald was just a tiny toddler, barely old enough to walk, he was already going up on stage with his family members. He started learning important things like how to time his jokes just right, how to keep a good rhythm when dancing, and how to connect with the people watching the show. These skills would become super important throughout his whole career in entertainment. The O'Connor family was always traveling and moving around the country, going from city to city to perform their shows. They were often living out of suitcases, never staying in one place for too long. But this traveling lifestyle, even though it was hard sometimes, really helped Donald understand what it meant to be a great entertainer. He learned how to adapt and change to any situation, whether he was on a stage or in front of a movie camera. Donald's early life wasn't always happy and easy, though. There were some really difficult times that he had to go through. The Great Depression happened, which was a time when many people in America didn't have much money. Plus, because his family was always traveling for vaudeville shows, they didn't always have a lot of money or a stable home. Some really sad things happened too. Several of Donald's brothers and sisters died when they were young, and his father passed away when Donald was still just a boy. These terrible losses and sad experiences gave Donald a quiet, emotional depth that people could feel, even though he always seemed cheerful and happy on the outside. But instead of becoming sad and bitter about all the bad things that happened, Donald decided to pour all those feelings into his performing. He discovered that he found real joy in making people laugh and helping them forget about their own problems for a while. Maybe that's because he understood so well what it was like to go through hard times and difficulties. This special mix of having a big heart and being really funny would later make his performances feel so real, alive, and genuine to everyone who watched him. Donald's journey into making movies started when he was still pretty young. Universal Pictures, which was a big movie studio, noticed that he had natural charisma and incredible energy that lit up the screen. He started appearing in movies as a child actor back in the 1930s. People quickly noticed him because of his bright, sparkling eyes and the confident way he acted in front of the camera. But it wasn't until the 1940s came around that O'Connor became a real, genuine star that everyone knew. During World War II, which was happening at that time, he appeared in a whole series of light-hearted musical comedy movies. These fun movies gave audiences something happy to watch and helped them escape from all the worry and uncertainty they felt about the war. His singing was beautiful, his dancing was amazing, and his comedic timing was perfect. People started comparing him to famous legends like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, who were the biggest dance stars of that time. But even though people compared him to these legends, O'Connor brought something that was uniquely his own to his performances. He had this special combination of boyish enthusiasm and excitement mixed with brilliant slapstick comedy skills. This made him absolutely irresistible to watch, and audiences couldn't get enough of him. Of course, the role that made sure Donald O'Connor would be remembered forever in movie history came in 1952. That's when he starred in the famous movie Singin' in the Rain, performing alongside the legendary Gene Kelly and the beautiful Debbie Reynolds. In that movie, O'Connor delivered a performance that people still talk about today as one of the best ever. He played a character named Cosmo Brown, who was the witty and loyal best friend with endless energy and perfect comedic timing. His unforgettable musical number called Make 'Em Laugh is still today one of the most iconic and famous scenes in the entire history of movies. It was like a masterclass showing everyone how to do physical comedy, precise dance moves, and incredible endurance all at the same time. O'Connor performed that number with such crazy intensity and energy that it actually sent him to the hospital afterward because he was so exhausted from doing it. The story goes that he worked so hard on that scene that his body just couldn't take it anymore. But here's the amazing thing. When you watch it on screen, he made it look completely effortless and easy. It looked like pure joy and perfect showmanship. Even now, more than 70 years later, that scene still makes audiences smile and feel happy when they watch it. After Singin' in the Rain became such a huge success, O'Connor kept on charming audiences throughout the 1950s and 1960s. He took on roles in different kinds of films like the Talking Mule series, and a movie called Call Me, Madam. These movies showed everyone how versatile he was, meaning he could do lots of different types of acting. He could be a comedian making everyone laugh, or he could be a leading man in a serious role. The Francis series, even though it was lighter and sillier fare, became super popular with audiences everywhere. It made O'Connor into a household name, which means that pretty much everyone in America knew who he was. Even as Hollywood started making fewer and fewer musical movies because they weren't as popular anymore, O'Connor kept staying active and working. He started transitioning to television shows and performing on stage in theater productions. He even hosted his own show called The Donald's O'Connor Show, and he appeared on tons of variety programs on TV. On these shows, his quick wit and amazing improvisational skills, which means he could make up funny things on the spot, shone just as brightly as his dancing feet had on the big movie screen. As Donald got older and older, he never lost that special spark and energy that made him so wonderful. He continued performing well into his later years, appearing in stage productions, television specials, and doing interviews where he would share his memories of Hollywood's golden age. Even as his health started to decline and he wasn't feeling as strong, he kept his great sense of humor and his feeling of gratitude for his life. He once joked, saying that he had been entertaining himself his whole entire life. His final public appearances showed everyone a man who was really proud of his legacy and everything he had accomplished. But he was still modest and humble, still the same down-to-earth entertainer who just wanted to make people smile and feel happy. Donald O'Connor's personal life, even though it was often overshadowed and not talked about as much as his extraordinary talent as a dancer, singer, and comedian, actually offers a really fascinating look into the man behind all the laughter and entertainment. His marriages tell a story about both his longing and desire for stability in his life, and also the challenges he faced living under the intense pressure of Hollywood's bright lights and super demanding schedules. O'Connor's first marriage was to a woman named Gwen Carter in 1944. This marriage began during one of the most turbulent yet productive times in his early career. Turbulent means it was a time with lots of ups and downs and changes. At that time, O'Connor was a young star who was quickly rising to fame at Universal Pictures, the movie studio. He was best known for his musical comedies and his light-hearted charm that audiences loved. Gwen Carter was a striking and talented woman in her own right, meaning she had her own abilities and beauty. She entered his life when he was gaining more and more fame through a whole string of successful musical films. Their marriage represented, at least at the beginning, a moment of grounding and stability in the fast-moving world of show business. It seemed like it might give him the steady home life he needed. However, as O'Connor's career flourished and became more successful, the stresses that came with it grew bigger too. There was constant public exposure, with everyone always watching and talking about him. Plus, the demands of film production were grueling, which means really exhausting and difficult. The couple's relationship reportedly struggled and had a hard time under the weight of long separations when Donald had to be away for work. It was also really difficult to maintain a private life when Hollywood's spotlight was constantly shining on them and everyone was always watching and gossiping. After spending a decade together, which is 10 whole years, they finally divorced in 1954. This marked the end of O'Connor's first attempt to balance having a personal relationship with someone while also dealing with the unpredictable rhythm and demands of a show. Business career. 2 years later, in 1956, O'Connor found love again when he married a woman named Gloria Noble. She was an actress and secretary who would end up becoming the steadying presence that he so badly needed in his life. This second marriage turned out to be one of the most enduring and defining relationships of his entire life. Enduring means it lasted a really long time and stayed strong. Gloria Noble was known for her beauty, her warmth, and her unwavering support for her husband. Unwavering means she never stopped supporting him, no matter what happened. Donald's career had both spectacular highs, like his amazing success, and deeply personal lows, like when things were difficult and he felt down. Through all of it, Gloria stood by his side. She stayed with him as he transitioned, or moved, from being a big film star in the 1940s and 1950s to facing the challenges of staying relevant and important in the entertainment industry. This was hard because television was starting to dominate and take over, and movies weren't as big of a deal anymore. Together, Donald and Gloria raised a family, which brought O'Connor a sense of peace and calmness that had escaped him and that he hadn't been able to find during his first marriage. Gloria's influence on Donald was really profound, which means it affected him deeply and changed him. While Donald was known to be a perfectionist on set, someone who wanted everything to be exactly right, he was driven by an almost manic energy. This crazy energy is what produced some of the most dazzling and amazing dance numbers in the entire history of Hollywood, like his unforgettable Make 'em Laugh routine in Singin' in the Rain. But Gloria provided the calm and emotional balance that Donald often lacked and didn't have on his own. Friends and colleagues, the people who worked with them, noted and noticed that Gloria had a grounding effect on Donald. This means she helped keep him stable and calm. She helped him manage his bouts of exhaustion when he was completely worn out, and his depression, which came from years and years of overwork and the constant pressure to keep delivering top-tier performances that were perfect every single time. Their marriage lasted all the way until Gloria's passing in 2001, when she sadly died. O'Connor often spoke about her with deep affection and gratitude in his later interviews. He acknowledged and recognized her as his true partner in both life and spirit. She wasn't just his wife, she was his best friend, and the person who kept him going. Throughout his long and varied career, which included so many different types of roles and performances, Donald O'Connor worked with many talented actresses. But there were few who left as lasting an impression on him as Donna did. The two of them had known each other during the golden years of Hollywood, which was the time when Hollywood was at its absolute best and most glamorous. Both of them were carving out their places in the entertainment world during that time. O'Connor was making his mark as a dazzling song and dance man, while Reed was becoming known as one of the most poised and beautiful actresses of her entire generation. Poised means she carried herself with grace and confidence. When O'Connor spoke about Reed later in his life, looking back on their time knowing each other, his words carried warmth, admiration, and a sense of nostalgia. Nostalgia is that feeling you get when you remember good times from the past and wish you could go back. He was nostalgic for a Hollywood that once valued grace, class, and genuine decency in its stars. Donna was one of the kindest, most sincere people I ever met in this business, O'Connor once said, thinking back on their friendship. She didn't play the Hollywood game. She was the real thing. What he meant by playing the Hollywood game was all the fake behavior, the pretending to be someone you're not, and the backstabbing that sometimes happened in the movie business. Donna didn't do any of that. She was genuine and real. Their paths crossed several times at industry events and social gatherings where Hollywood stars would get together. O'Connor often recalled and remembered how Reed stood out in a crowd, but not because she was loud or constantly seeking attention. Instead, she stood out because of her quiet confidence. She didn't need to be the loudest person in the room to be noticed. He admired her calm demeanor, her professionalism in her work, and the way she carried herself with dignity both on the screen when she was acting and off the screen in her real life. You could always tell Donna was raised with good values, he reflected and thought back. She treated everyone the same, from the studio head, who was the most important and powerful person at the movie studio, to the stagehand, who was someone doing behind-the-scenes work and helping out. That kind of humility is rare in show business. Humility means being humble and not thinking you're better than other people. O'Connor's respect for Reed grew even deeper and stronger when he saw her performances in movies. He was particularly impressed by her Oscar-winning role in the movie From Here to Eternity from 1953. In that film, she shed, or got rid of, her girl-next-door image that she was known for. She proved her dramatic range, showing everyone that she could act in serious, emotional scenes and not just play sweet, simple characters. When I saw her in From Here to Eternity, I couldn't believe it was the same sweet Donna I'd seen on the MGM lot years before, he said, remembering his surprise. MGM was another big movie studio where lots of stars worked. She had that strength, that fire. You saw something deeper behind those eyes. It took real courage for her to take that part, and she nailed it. What O'Connor meant was that it was brave of Donna to take on such a different and challenging role, and she did it perfectly. To O'Connor, Reed represented the kind of artist who refused to be boxed in or limited to just one type of role. She was someone who took chances and kept evolving, which means growing and changing, even when Hollywood wanted her to stay in one lane and just keep playing the same type of character over and over. He also appreciated the way Donna balanced her professional life and her personal life, which was something he admitted he often struggled with himself. Reed's long marriage to a producer named Tony Owen and her devotion to their children made a really strong impression on O'Connor. He noticed how much she cared about her family. I admired the way she put her family first, O'Connor confessed, admitting his true feelings. Most of us in this business, we get caught up in the lights and the applause. What he meant was that many entertainers get so focused on being famous and getting attention that they forget about what's really important. But Donna always knew what really mattered. She had her priorities straight. That sense of being grounded, of knowing what was truly important in life, is what O'Connor believed made her performances all the more authentic and real. You could feel her goodness in every role she played. It wasn't just acting. It was who she was. He was saying that Donna wasn't pretending to be kind and good in her roles, that kindness was actually part of her real personality. Behind the cameras, when they weren't filming, O'Connor described Reed as a consummate professional. Consummate means she was the absolute best and most complete example of a professional. She was punctual, which means always on time. She was prepared and ready for her scenes, and she was unfailingly courteous, meaning she was always polite and nice to everyone. You never heard her complain, he recalled, remembering how she acted on set. If there was a problem on set, Donna would just smile and find a way to make it better. She had this calming presence that made everyone want to do their best. Just by being there and being herself, she made the whole atmosphere better and helped everyone work better together. He contrasted her demeanor, or the way she behaved, with the temperamental behavior that often plagued Hollywood productions. Some stars would throw tantrums, get angry, or be difficult to work with, which made filming movies really stressful. But Donna wasn't like that at all. O'Connor added with a laugh, "If every star behaved like Donna Reed, producers would have lived 10 years longer." He was joking that if all actors were as easy to work with as Donna, the producers who had to deal with difficult stars wouldn't have been so stressed out. O'Connor also spoke about a more personal admiration he had for Donna. He talked about his belief that Reed embodied or represented a kind of moral and emotional strength that made her stand out among all her peers and fellow actors. During the later years of her career, when Reed became politically outspoken and even replaced Barbara Bel Geddes on the TV show Dallas in the 1980s, O'Connor said he wasn't surprised at all. "Donna never did anything halfway," he remarked. "Doing something halfway means not putting in your full effort." Whether it was a movie, her TV show, or standing up for what she believed in, she gave it her whole heart. She put everything she had into whatever she was doing. He admired how she managed to reinvent herself, which means completely change and create a new version of her career. She transitioned from making movies to working in television with The Donna Reed Show. This TV show showcased her warmth and humor to a whole new generation of people who might not have seen her old movies. In reflecting on Reed's legacy, meaning what she left behind and how people would remember her, O'Connor became emotional. "People talk about glamour and fame," he said softly, his voice getting quieter. "But when you think about someone like Donna, you remember the grace, the honesty, the decency. She represented the best of what Hollywood could be." For O'Connor, Reed was more than just a beautiful actress who looked good on screen. She was a reminder of an era or time period when kindness mattered just as much as talent and ability. She was proof, O'Connor concluded, finishing his thought, that you could be a star without losing your soul. He meant that you could be famous and successful without becoming a bad person or forgetting who you really were. Donald O'Connor's words about Donna Reed revealed and showed the sensitivity and sincerity that characterized both of them, meaning these qualities were part of who they both were as people. His admiration wasn't rooted in romantic affection or having a crush on her. Instead, it came from deep respect for her as a woman, an artist, and a human being who carried herself with rare integrity. Integrity means being honest and having strong moral principles. His reflections offered not just a portrait or picture of Donna Reed, but also of O'Connor himself. Through talking about her, you could learn about him too. He was an entertainer who valued decency and compassion above the fleeting glamour of Hollywood. Fleeting means temporary and not lasting very long. Together, their stories represented two sides of the same coin. They were both hard-working, gifted performers who brought joy to millions and millions of people while staying true to who they were deep down inside. And in remembering her and thinking about her life, O'Connor summed it up best with these final words. Donna Reed didn't just light up the screen. She lit up every room she walked into. She brought brightness and happiness wherever she went, both in movies and in real life. Donald O'Connor's later years, as he got older and older, were marked by a series of health struggles that mirrored or reflected the incredible physical energy and endurance he had displayed throughout his entire career. In 1990, he underwent a quadruple heart bypass surgery. This was a major, serious operation that involved fixing 4 blocked arteries around his heart. This surgery really underscored or emphasized just how much his lifelong dedication to performing had taken a toll on his body and worn it down. For decades, which means for many, many years, O'Connor had been known for his seemingly boundless vitality. Boundless vitality means he seemed to have endless energy that never ran out. He had been dazzling audiences with his athletic dancing, his acrobatic routines where he would flip and jump, and his fast-paced comedy that never seemed to slow down. Yet behind that joyful exterior, behind that happy face everyone saw, Years and years of relentless performing, touring, and film work had left his health increasingly fragile and weak. The heart surgery was both a life-saving measure that kept him alive and a stark reminder, a clear sign that even one of Hollywood's most tireless entertainers was not invincible. Even he could get hurt and sick. Still, true to his nature and being the person he had always been, O'Connor faced the ordeal with courage and humor. He was joking to friends and doctors, telling them that the only thing he wanted after surgery was to be able to dance again. His recovery was slow, taking a long time, but he was determined and refused to give up. His recovery reflected the same perseverance and determination that had carried him through the hardships of his early life and all the ups and downs of show business over the years. O'Connor's health took another severe blow, another big hit, in January 1999 when he nearly died from pleural pneumonia. This is a serious and really painful inflammation or swelling of the tissues surrounding the lungs. For someone like him, whose performances had always relied on breath control and physical agility, being able to breathe well and move quickly, this illness struck particularly hard and was especially devastating. His hospitalization at that time lasted several weeks, during which time his family and fans feared the worst. They were really worried he might die. Yet once again, showing his incredible strength, O'Connor surprised everyone with his resilience, which means his ability to bounce back and recover from something difficult. Despite his weakened state, even though his body was very weak, he refused to succumb to despair or give up hope. He was telling visitors who came to see him in the hospital that he had too many laughs left to give. He still wanted to make people happy and wasn't ready to stop. His recovery, though it seemed miraculous and almost impossible, left lasting effects on his health. He was forced to scale back his public appearances, which means he couldn't appear in public as much anymore. Nevertheless, even with these limitations, he occasionally returned to the stage and television for special tributes and celebrations. He was determined to stay connected to the world of entertainment that had defined his entire life and made him who he was. Sadly, Donald O'Connor's remarkable spirit and amazing personality could not defy time forever. Nobody can live forever, no matter how strong they are. On September 27, 2003, he passed away at the age of 78 from complications of heart failure. His heart, which had been struggling for years, finally stopped working. His death occurred at the Motion Picture and Television Country House and Hospital in Woodland Hills, California. This was a place that had long served as a refuge or safe place for Hollywood's aging legends, the old stars who had gotten too old or sick to take care of themselves. The location was fitting and made sense, for it was a community dedicated to those people who had given their lives to the art of entertainment, and O'Connor had certainly earned his place among them. He had definitely deserved to be there with all the other great entertainers. In his final days, the last days before he died, surrounded by caregivers who admired him deeply and really looked up to him, he was remembered for his warmth, his humor that never went away, and the light he brought to others even when he was in declining health and not feeling well. Even when he was dying, he still tried to make the people around him smile and feel good. Donald O'Connor's life was a testament, or proof, of what it means to be a true entertainer. From his humble beginnings in vaudeville, traveling around with his family, to his legendary status in Hollywood's golden age, he never stopped bringing joy to people. And through all the ups and downs, the successes and the struggles, he remained that same down-to-earth person who just wanted to make people smile and forget their troubles for a little while.